Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Centimetre Perfect AFL podcast. We have made it through the 2025 AFL draft, a draft that proves that truly no expert really knows what they're talking about when it comes to the draft. Least of all me. I am Jesse Dart. Over there is Liam. Now, Liam,
hello.
We always love a good draft night surprise, and we got no shortage of those. Last week, we had some big bolters, some big sliders, some frantic academy bidding, a potential miscalculation of how the point system works by an actual AFL club. We'll get to that. That might have been quite bad. But it was a wonderful night, as always. We'll talk about every single team's picks in the draft in the coming hour or so. But, Liam, before we get into all of that, what was your 5-second take on the draft? Did you enjoy the spectacle and the pomp and circumstance?
I noticed there was a lot of bidding going on, Jesse. There was bids left, right, and center. I was trying to watch as much as I could, but I felt like every time there was another pick coming in, it was like, oh, there's another bid. Even the gettable boys were getting a bit bored of all the bids coming in. And people love the Gold Coast Academy. That's my 5-second take, Jesse. That's all I got out of it. But at @SamPerfect_AFL on Instagram, YouTube, Apple, Amazon, and Spotify for the audio podcast, of course. Let's see if we can get as much rage as we did last time for a draft video, Jesse.
I was going to say, we're going to start doing a pre-record of this.
Okay.
The next sentence or two. My Phantom draft, I stand by. It was perfectly fine, but it was never an actual reflection of what the draft was going to look like. So when people will come into the comments, and they will, and say, ha, Dersman went 1, I'll say, ha, never said he wasn't going to. So let's be clear on that. My Phantom draft looks really nothing like this. But then again, plenty of experts who actually market themselves as experts also did quite badly, just quietly. Let's get into it, Liam. We're going to talk in order of clubs based on the way they appeared in the draft order. So no alphabetical here, and not going pick by pick in that format. We're going team by team. Highest pick gets the first billing. And unsurprisingly, Liam, that was West Coast. They won one game last season. They leave the draft with 5 picks. That's 5 times more picks than they had wins.
That's right. Well, that's very true, Jesse. It's very true. And tonight's going to be one of those nights where I'm going to let you do, obviously, most of the talking. You are the guru when it comes to the draft. I'm but a learner. Your student when it comes to this kind of stuff. But we will start with West Coast. Absolutely. Up on screen, you can see them there. Willem Dersma going at number 1 as no surprise. Cooper Duff Titler going out number 4 as predicted by Jesse. 19, Josh Lindsay. 29, Sam Allen. And number 39, Tyler Williams. And of course, we're not going to be going through the rookie drafts. We'll be here until tomorrow. Jesse, your thoughts?
But they stole Fred Rodriguez, and I'm really cross about that. I'm going to get that out of the way. I wanted Fred.
You wanted Freddie? Oh, yeah, we've already got a Freddie. We
That's
can't
true.
Freddies.
That's true.
Go for it, Jesse. West Coast.
We'll get the good out of the way first. I think on balance, I'm going to grade each club as we go through. I think on balance, it's a clear pass mark for West Coast. It's difficult to, in the week after the draft, give any club with pick 1 a fail grade because they've kind of had pick 1. So unless there's something objectively weird, which they haven't, they're probably going to get the pass mark. Dersma makes sense. Duff Titler, I think that was the right call all the way out. They desperately need a big in that midfield because Matt Flynn is serviceable, but if this club wants to be challenging for a premiership in 5 or so years, which I think they genuinely do, they're not going to get there with Matt Flynn. Like, that's just the long and the short of it. They need guys that can work with your Harley Reids, and build a team around promising youth that's both there and already coming in. So Dersma, Duff Titler, no surprise. I love the pickup of Lindsay. I think classy ball users have been noticeably sparse at West Coast in the last few seasons. I think McCarthy in the mid-season draft was potentially a changing of that tide for them. They look like they really drafted a skills-based player for the first time in a while, and I think Lindsay is a continuation of that. I really like how he does it. It'll be interesting to see what happens with him, because if he does end up slowing on that half-back line early doors, that probably allows McCarthy to spend more time on ball. I don't think you play both of them as half-back flankers. I think that just gets a little bit disjointed, potentially almost too offensively minded off the halfback flank from what we have seen from Lindsay to this point. Obviously, new system, very moldable and malleable as a first-year player, but just from what we've seen so far. So that'll be interesting, whether McCarthy plays up or whether Lindsay slides up the ground and plays a bit higher as well. Some options there for him. Allen and Williams, I'm not too sure we'll see them play, but we do need to talk about the bidding from West Coast because they were very active.
Very active.
They must have been practicing for Magic Millions in a couple of months. They must fancy themselves to get a nice I'm Invincible Colt, and they wanted to get their bidding hand up nice and early and say, yep, over here. fun story. You can't scratch your nose at one of those places, otherwise you might take home a horse. Because if you go like that and a bid spotter sees you, so that was a lesson I learned very quickly on my first day covering a yearling sale, was to keep your hands as far away as possible.
How's that horse going, Jesse?
She ran fourth at York on debut, so going swimmingly.
That's not so bad.
So obviously, bid on Newland early doors, correct decision. Bid on Dean early doors. I think they would have been quite happy with Harry Dean, to be honest, given defence is still a major issue for West Coast, and I don't think that's really changed this off-season demonstrably at this time. So I think they would have been quite happy to have landed Harry Dean in a different set of circumstances. The bidding for Adamsall was weird, and I don't really know how this played out, because they traded away a future second round pick, which I got for Liam Ryan.
Yes.
To move up one draft spot.
One spot.
Bid.
Fail.
I think they miscalculated their points. There's two options here, and based on the reaction of the draft room, I think someone made a whoopsie somewhere.
Okay.
Because they either traded up because they wanted Lindsay at all costs and they were worried that Hawthorn were going to deal their pick elsewhere, which is a possibility. But the other possibility is they were very keen to get Adamsall, thought that would get it done, but then they didn't get their points tally right. Which, if that happened, that's inexcusable. And I don't think that will ever be publicly admitted to. If that did happen, that would never be public. No football club would make that admission, I don't think.
Well,
but if that happened, if an AFL club who in their recruiting and that list management department really have a job for a month of the season, right?
Yeah.
Trade and draft. if they were to get that wrong, and if that did happen and they got that wrong, that's sackable. That's inexcusable. In saying that, I do think Lindsay's a great get.
Well, I'm pretty sure they actually bet on Jai Murray first. Didn't get Jai.
They did.
And then tried Adamsall, didn't get Adamsall, and then had Lindsay as the backup. So as much as they were throwing around the old points there, they seem to have a pretty decent backup in line across the board. So you can't points if that points thing is true, Jesse. That aside,
the reaction in the recruiting room made me think that that something had happened.
It did feel weird to go up one spot.
It was.
It did.
It was odd.
Yeah, it was very strange.
I guess that becomes the coach. I think Lindsay's a good pick. I think they'll be pretty pleased with that. But then, looking at the picks that came immediately after that, and we'll talk about these guys more in context. But is burning a future second round pick to essentially guarantee Lindsay a better option than getting a guy like a Mitch Marsh, when we know that their forward line has been diabolical, and Shanahan and Waterman could really use a third tool like Marsh in time, because Marsh would play that role perfectly. A guy like Harley Barker, who's a hard-running, gut winger, potentially a perfect fit to give some outside help to guys like Harley Reid and Dersma if he's able to go inside and contribute there to crash and bash. Again, I think Lindsay's a good get. I think that's worth celebrating. I think at pick 19, I've done very well there. But you've also then got to weigh up the context of, he's then trading out of a second round pick next year. And look, that pick may be worth nothing. That pick may be worth pick 34 next year. But then you've got to talk about what next gen kids are available on West Coast. Well, they couldn't really protect a lot of theirs. They obviously were able to keep a hold of Tyler Williams, but they lost some along the way. Charlie Banfield, father-son, he is off to St Kilda, which will be disappointing for them, no doubt. And, Kobe Evans, another academy prospect for the Eagles, he has made his way to Brisbane, which I know a lot of West Coast fans were disappointed with, to have invested all that time in those two and to lose them. All I'm going to say on this, and it's going to be a recurring theme throughout this draft, is that there are now certain fan bases that I do not want to hear a word of complaining about academies from. West Coast aren't one of those, to be fair. There's a few, and we'll get to them soon.
We'll get to them soon. From a team that might have been potentially messed up their draft picks, Jesse, and their points, to a team that seems to be very good.
I need to give a grade. My apologies. I'm going to go with a B. I think a B verging on a B+. I think this is this is a ticking all the boxes that need to tick on paper for West Coast, and now we need to see primarily the first three in that draft order kick on and make an impression in 2026.
Very good. But I was saying that the potential points kerfuffle to a team that seems to be very good at handling their points, Jesse, in the Gold Coast Suns. They are the next team, and they really challenged my ability to fit so many people on a screen. Pick number 2, Zeke Ewland, Dylan Patterson at 5, Jai Murray at 17, Bo Adamsall at 18, Avery Thomas at 28, and Kobe Coulson at 46. Now you can see there on a little graphic, I've got a little dollar sign and an A. Dollar sign means they were bid on and it was matched, and the A is the academy. As you can see, the Gold Coast basically got their entire academy. they were very good outside of Thomas, of Avery Thomas, who came from Tassie Devils. Everyone else they've drafted comes from their academy in some capacity, Jesse.
And I think this is fantastic. And I know I'm probably in the absolute minority to hold that opinion, and that's fine. People are welcome to go in the comments and tell me how wrong I am, and then it's totally
they will.
Their rights. I know, but this is the system that we should have for all our 10 clubs, right? Like instead of making it, a case of everyone gets the pitchforks out and it gets very emotional at the 4 northern clubs. The academy system should exist for all clubs, and I understand it's important that we give a competitive advantage to the northern markets where they do have those historical disadvantages in terms of talent production. So, it doesn't have to be a next year thing. But I think that's the model we would all like to move to, right? Like, we're done with the draft in 10 years, surely. And we're doing academies, aren't we? Like, that's just the way we're going to do it. Is it not?
Well, it makes sense, Jesse.
Well, we're not going to be doing this video in 10 years' time.
Well, probably not, for a number of reasons. But I think the draft, I think, will live on. It's one of those things, Jesse.
The draft is fine for mature age people in mid-season. It's fine, or even your mature age guys at this time of year.
So you're saying just have every team has an academy and they just build their own players up from scratch. That's it.
I talked about this in the 10 things the AFL should fix thing. Set the floor, the financial floor higher for the distribution from the AFL down. If clubs can't invest properly, that's not on anyone else. It's not on equalisation to fix. That's their own backyard. I think if we incentivize talent pathways at club level, we will get a stronger league. And look, we're already seeing that with some of the players we're going to talk about later who haven't gone to the club to develop them for years upon years upon years. They'll be kicking themselves. It's happened innumerable times. Hey, that former St Kilda captain Jack Steele? He was a Giants Academy graduate, just quietly. Don't say that too loud. You might upset some people. But that's the thing, right? It makes everyone better. Let's talk about the Suns. Newland, best player in the draft class. I've said that the whole way through. I maintain that. In an open pool, I genuinely believe he would be pick number 1. Patterson, he's an odd one, right? Because I think he's a pick 5 on potential. He's shown a lot of it, and he could be an absolute difference maker off that halfback line for the Suns. He absolutely could be. But I also think there's a few more ready-made AFL players below him in the draft order this year, if that makes sense. Murray and Adenshaw, look, they potentially floated up about it. Adenshaw was in that kind of late 20s pick range, but that all gets tipped on his head on draft night. Yeah. So Murray and Adenshaw, I think there'll be players that they're going to be, I think, a long way back in the pecking order. And that's the one risk when you're the 3rd and 4th academy pick of a potentially generational Suns side who's already got a very stacked list.
Oh, yes.
Like, they may struggle to break through. I'm very interested in their one non-academy draftee, though, in Avery Thomas. I like him. He flew under the radar a lot because he was a Tassie prospect. I think there's a player here. I'm very interested to see if he can break into the side. Given you've got a very strong core at the Suns, but if a guy like John Noble has a dip in form, Dan Rioli obviously plays there, but if they want to push him higher up the ground and get him going, even if you just swap some magnets around and let him have a go in a back pocket for a debut, I think there's a player here in Avery Thomas. I don't know, he could go either way, but he's shown a bit to me that says he could potentially be that last missing piece in a Suns back 6, where if they have an issue getting a Bobby Hill on the back on the chain in a final, he's the guy you can send to him and say, look, just stay with him the whole time. He doesn't move without you. Like, that's the potential type of player I can see him being in time.
Amazing. I'm quite scared about the Suns next year and for the foreseeable future.
You should be.
Going to be. Oh, okay. Well, I will. But I think that they're building an absolute Goliath of a list, and with Demi Harbeck at the helm, they're going to be really scary next year. Really scary. Potential top 2 material, Jesse. What do you reckon?
I'll say top 4.
Top 4. All right, we'll get to.
I think we're a year off top 2, but absolutely on an upwards trend.
Grade 4, the Gold Coast Suns, Jesse.
A. They did everything they set out to do.
A it is. Let's move on to the next team with pick number 3 was the Carlton. I know they said Carlington, which is not correct, Jesse. It's the Carlton Blues. Pick number 3, father-son Harry Dean. We got Taylor Byrne at number 45 and Jack Isson at 47. Ison, you can tell me in the comments if I'm wrong, like last time, and I learn. We love it. Just 3 for the Blues, Jesse. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, quite night. Dean will play round 1 or round 0, whichever one Carlton are doing next season. They're doing round 1, I think. So they are. They are doing round 1 next season. So he'll play round 1 next season. They desperately need the help down back. They're going to have to blood him because Wiedering, frankly, needs it. Massive bolter as well in terms of the draft order. He went from being he'll be a father-son at Carlton to he's the best defender in the draft class to a top 5 draft pick. In what felt like the blink of an eye, but showed a lot of good qualities. Whether he's able to adapt straight away to the AFL rigor and system, I'm not sure. He may take a bit of time to find his feet, so you may not see him straight away. I may just contradict myself there. But at the same time, I do get the sense they'll want him to play early and let him learn at the level rather than coddle him. I think that's probably the best thing to do for Carlton right now, because let's be honest, I don't think Carlton are a premiership contender next season. They're a finals contender, especially with the bracket going down to 10. Yeah. But I don't think they're a premiership contender. So we'll see with that. I'll talk Issa because I think they got away with this a bit. He looks like a handy player too. Bigger midfielder type as well for Carlton. So clearly life after Patrick Cripps is starting to factor into some recruitment decisions at Carlton. That life after Patrick Cripps may be as soon as next season.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Like realistically. But they need some grunt. Hewitt's wrong side of 30. Chera, the less said about that, the better, really. Jagger Smith is obviously the forgotten element of that as well. Hopefully he can have a strong preseason and hit the ground running there. But I think this is promising for Carlton. Burns not a player I will profess to knowing too much about. Small forward type. Coming out of Koroit, which is very cool down there in the southwest. Yes. Down there in the southwest of Victoria, so shout out to all those in that region. I have some family in that general area, so we'll give it a big up for that. So big up Koroit, why not?
Get in there, Koroit.
Grade for Carlton. Look, I'm going to give them probably a B. Like West Coast, they had some clear objectives. They achieved those. They traded out from their higher picks as well. That was interesting. I know they probably had to secure Dean, but they probably weakened their top-end talent draft hand to make sure they got Dean in. They've got Cody Walker on the father-son horizon next year anyway, so I don't think they'll be too upset about that, regardless, given he's already touted as a potential number 1 pick in 12 months' time. Isn't it terrifying? We're already talking about that.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy, Jesse. Let's go to Brisbane next. They are the next in line with their pick number 6, with Daniel Animal, Kobe Evans at number 38, Kobe Evans, Cody Curtin at 43, and then Ty Hayes, a pickup at 44. Annabelle obviously was a Brisbane Lions Academy player, also bid on and matched by the Lions. Jesse.
Yes, that he was, and another potentially AFL-ready midfielder from Brisbane. They've got a few of those on their list at the moment, don't they, Liam? I really like Hannibal. He is a real accumulator and a real ball hunter. Stood out very much among the Allies, and it was a very strong Allies side as well in the Carnival. For them in the 18s. Look, I think he's going to be able to get into this Brisbane team. I really do. I think there's a real need for him to develop quickly, because he's going to have to learn if he wants to get a foot at the table alongside the likes of the Ashcrofts. Obviously, Berry's not going anywhere anytime soon. Zach Bailey, if he stays, is going to command midfield time. Lockie Neal, Dunkley is still around. So it's a pretty stacked midfield. Jasper Fletcher as well, obviously, too. So it's a pretty competitive environment at the Lions to even get close to a starting midfield rotation spot. But I like what we're seeing from Annabelle. I really do. I think there's a very AFL-ready midfielder in him, which, in an open pool, I think that would be very coveted. He could potentially have gone higher than 6, just given those traits. I think he's potentially more AFL ready than Dersma at this stage.
Okay.
Now, does that mean he'll be a better player long term? No. That's just purely where I think we're at now. Annabelle's got acres of quality, acres of ability. I think he's going to be a very handy player for the Lions in time. The raid out west, I think they've done pretty well out of that. Brisbane heading over here, managing to pick up both Kobe Evans from the West Coast Academy, and also Cody Curtin, brother of Dan at the Crows. Cody Curtin had a bit of an up and down season. He was rated, he was not rated, but he's gotten through. He's gotten himself in the draft order. He'll probably be a project player for the Lions. Evans, he'll be an interesting one because he's a midfielder who probably isn't as AFL ready as Annabelle, and that's going to make it really hard for him to get traction and get some play time for the Lions in that senior side in 2026. So he's a bit of a watch. We'll see what happens with him in time. And Hayes, I mean, they've gone down the road and grabbed another midfielder from Southport and just dragged him up. So they're quite happy to accumulate as many midfielders as they want. Much like Fremantle with Ruckman, you can never have too many of what you love the most.
Oh, God, that's a story for another time, Jesse. It's a story for another time. Or is it? Maybe it's not. Anything else? Oh, the grade for the Lions, Jesse.
I'm going to go with another B.
Another B?
It's hard with teams like this because they're already so good.
Yeah.
And you don't want to go, wow, they haven't done amazingly, but they got their key objective, which is Annabelle, and they've added some depth around other positions, primarily the tools, which is Curtin. He'll likely slot down back, or potentially forward. He's listed as a key forward in the AFL.com. I think he actually might make a pretty good defender. I think aerially he's pretty solid. So we'll see. That he's listed as a key forward, so maybe he's forward depth, but I think he might make an okay defender in time. That'd be quite interesting to see what he ends up doing next season, most likely in the VFL setup.
Definitely the team that was most willing to take a punt at some WA boys for the Brisbane Lions. Not a bit of a light on one for the Western side, but we knew that already. All right, Jesse, let's move on to the next team in the list. It is the Richmond Tigers. They've got pick number 7, Sam Cumming. Number 8, Samuel Grill. I'll adapt to it. It's fine. 31, Zane Pueka. Okay, and number 54 is Noah Roberts Thompson. Trying to make me work for it, the Richmond Tigers. Crikey Moses. Young team, Jesse. What do you think of the Richmond Tigers picks?
I love this. I absolutely love this. We talk about the Hollywood Hawks. I think we're going to get high roller Richmond in a couple of years' time.
Okay.
I love the selection of Grill. I think that is such an aggressive draft pick because he has such a high ceiling, but also potentially such a low floor that it's a big risk to take a guy like this in the top 10. But I love it. I love the signal this sends about what Richmond want to be. And they clearly have confidence in what they've drafted last season. Obviously, Lawler, the lamplighter of that for that midfield division. Cumming, he'll likely be a real influence as well. He can get his hands on the pill innumerable times. So I think he'll be a very good addition to that as well, provide a bit of grunt for them. I was potentially a shade surprised they didn't strongly consider Dyson Sharp, or maybe they did. I thought he would have been a really good fit for them. Maybe un-high roller Richmond like in that regard, but sometimes you need the crash and bash. I mean, James Warple's played that role at the Hollywood Hawks for the last 2 seasons. Sometimes it doesn't hurt to have that little bit of grunt. Not to say that Cumming can't, but that was probably what Sharp was better at alongside him for South Australia last season in the 18. So we'll see with that. But look, I love the selection of both. I think this is a clear sign of saying, well, we're pretty happy with our bigs and what we've managed to draft as key forward and key defenders. We're happy with Lawler. Let's get a bit of quality and a bit of upside and really target that. And they've done that here. So a great result for Richmond, in my opinion. I think they should be very pleased with this draft hand. I'm going to grade this a very happy A. I think they've done very well here.
Very happy A. They keep building the Tigers. They keep building. I love it. Let's go on to the next club, Jesse. Who do you reckon that might be?
Well, I think if we have high roller Richmond, what do we have here?
Well, pick 7, pick 8, both went to Richmond. So pick 9 went to the Essendon Bombers. Here we go, number 9. And by the way, they're going to test me with some of these names. It's fantastic. They read all your comments last time and thought, haha, we're going to make this really difficult for Liam.
They specifically went back and redid their draft rankings.
Specifically just to mess with me. Number 9, Sullivan Roby. Number 10, Jack Farrow. Number 13, Dyson Sharp. Number 36, Max Kondogianis. Kondogianis, thank you very much.
I'm going to say it the very Anglo way, so I apologise to any Greek audience that we have. I was going to say any Greek audience we have in Oakley, and then I read where he actually played, and I'm now completely unsurprised. So I do apologise to any of our Greek audience or Greek origin audience. I'm going to pronounce that in the very Anglo way, and you have my apologies.
I think we should change it like we did with Gurulia, but that's okay. And number 53 is Hussein El Achkar at number 53. Jesse, Essendon, you said this was a very important one coming into this draft period. You were going to watch them with bated breath and a very close eye. How do you think they did?
I'm not sure, Liam. And you know what? Let's talk the positive first, right?
Sure.
Sharp's a great get. Sharp is exactly what this team is screaming out for. This is exactly the type of player. For too long, the Bombers have drafted fragile players who aren't able to handle the rigor of AFL, whether that's, commitment issues or they just don't develop on. We know what we're getting with Dyson Sharp. Dyson Sharp may not be the best player in this draft class. I suspect he'll be the most consistent. And right now, the Bombers desperately need guys that can just go and get it done. And I think Sharp will be that. I mean, he's probably very much in that Darcy Parish mould in terms of just a consistent output player. Hopefully his calves work. I think this is just a very good get. Like, plain and simple, I think that's a great draft pick. They've gone for Roby. They were going to go for Roby, so this isn't a surprise.
Okay.
I just get nervous with bolters in draft years. Now, on one hand, you can say, well, it's all come together at the right time, and that's a completely fair argument. But when you're basing a top 10 pick on half a season, I just get nervous about that type of stuff. And I don't like it when we do it.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Sure.
I mean, St Kilda did it last year with Taru. That looks like that might work out pretty well, certainly based on what we saw at the back end of this season. I don't know. Like, his physical stats and his combine numbers are brilliant. And he's clearly athletic enough to have an impact at AFL level. But they've gone down this path before with guys like Nick Cox, who,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
is how I would best describe Nick Cox when it comes to AFL level. That's a risk. Farrow surprised me as well. Like, honestly, if we were doing this and they just drafted Sharp at 10 and Farrow at 13, I wouldn't have blinked and just said, yeah, they've done pretty well here. That was interesting. Is Farrow a top 10 pick? I don't think so. He's also kind of a bolter. I didn't make you put the bolter graphic on him, but he definitely went from being the 5th best WA prospect kind of coming into the 18s to clearly being the first, with the likes of Rodriguez falling away. It's interesting. I think that it feels a clear need. Essendon definitely needs some class of halfback. I mean, McGrath struggles, Redmond struggles. Like, these guys, I know that they're some of their better players, but these guys are just battlers, right? Like, at the end of the day, there's a reason that they had like the worst on-field product last season. Injuries was a part of that, but also like they're a team of battlers. So this is good that they've drafted for needs. I think we can definitely applaud that. The Suede stuff was weird and not bid matching, and we may talk about that later.
Yes.
But I also think we should mention it here in the context of Essendon, because I thought this was odd. Because look, I did not have Suede anywhere near our calculations for Fremantle when I was like, who are we going to get? Didn't factor into my thoughts at all, because it had seemed the entire way through, and maybe I'm just a complete oblivious idiot that had no idea what was actually going on. Also possible. But it seemed that Essendon were going to be bid matching, and we're pretty keen to keep both him and El Actor, who they later got at a much lower draft pick. I understand they would have gone into points deficit next season if they had have matched Fremantle, which then would have affected next year's draft pick for them. But that's something you sort out before the draft, isn't it?
Surely.
Like, especially when you have a desperate need for forward presence and forward pressure and forward quality. Like, I think the best forward they probably had last season in terms of value added to the forward six was probably Kako. So your pressure forward type. And then they've passed on another one that they had the rights to. It just seems odd to me. This is going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out for them. Look, Roby, enormous potential, enormous upside, and he showed that by being the draft bolter. Big preseason for him. I think Essendon, I don't want to commit to a grade or be too strong on Essendon's draft head either way. I mean, we shouldn't really be strong on any of them, but
Sure.
There's only one club in this team we're going to talk about that I'm like, that was probably a mistake, and we're getting to them pretty soon. But this, I think, for Essendon, I've always said it's make or break. They've drafted Farrow. I think that's an admission that their half-back line isn't and hasn't worked, and they need. And look, I know McGrath's a great servant. I know Redmond's a great servant. I know they're handy football players, but McGrath's pick one. That was a bad call. Redmond's fine, but ultimately these guys are limited, right? Like, you're talking guys that you can talk the bomberometer. Like, their best games are still like they're above average, but they're not phenomenal. So drafting Farrow, at the very least to me, says that they understand there's a need to improve. Now, the big concern here is, Liam, you draft a guy like Sharp, you draft a guy like Rob, you draft 2 mids, especially a guy like Sharp who's definitely able to play round 1 if he's fit, right? I think he's absolutely able to go round 1. Why not just trade Merritt?
Yeah.
Like, just, you know. So my grade for the Bombers, I'm going to go with C.
Okay.
Because that's how undecided I am with them. Because on one hand, Sharp's a great... I think all 3 of their top line picks, I think they can be pleased with to varying degrees. The Swede stuff was weird and didn't really make a lot of sense. And I'm also concerned they still have a very susceptible back line, while acknowledging this probably wasn't a great year for key backs. So actually, I might go C+. I might bump it up to C+.
Just slightly above average. Nice. All right, Jesse, let's move on to the next team, which is the Melbourne Demons. At pick 11, they picked Xavier Taylor. Number 12, Latrell Pickett. And number 30, Thomas Matthews there. Jesse, now another team you were kind of interested to see what they would do. And what are your thoughts?
I'm happy to be clipped here. This was a mistake. This is bad. This is bad drafting by Melbourne with Pickett. Okay. Taylor's a great get. This is bad drafting. You don't bolt a 20-year-old at the board and say, well, we've done a great job. You make a trade happen in the low 20s, you secure him, you go home, everyone's happy. You know, I don't understand this. Especially when you got Sharp on the board and you've just traded out Petrarca and Oliver. I don't understand this. Now, on one hand, yes, Langford and Lindsay. Yes. But there's still 3 mids that go into it. So, you know, I think this is a bad call. Taylor as well. I mean, I think Taylor is a very good pickup. I think he was probably your second best guy on the board. I still think Sharp probably just slightly ahead of him, but still, that's a matter of opinion, right? I don't think that's necessarily a bad decision. I think that's actually probably a pretty good pick for them because they definitely need some help down back. May, obviously, they desperately tried to get rid of him. Lever's not getting any younger. Defensively, they looked really vulnerable at times last season. So I think that's a sensible pick for the D. So that's a positive pick. That goes straight in the win column for them. I'm very confused by the Pickett pick. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I know a lot of Melbourne fans didn't like the picks I assigned to them in the fan draft. That's fine. I think I assigned Schubert and Marsh with these picks. That's totally fine. You don't have to agree with that. But I'd be very shocked if this worked out. And I'm totally happy to be wrong. Like, sure. Melbourne fans can come and make fun of me in 5 years' time. That's totally fine. Like, this is a game of opinions, right? This would be very boring if I just gave everyone a B and said, well, they've all done great. Like, at the end of the day, if I'm giving some clubs praise, you know, it's going to have to balance out. I think Melbourne last year were one of the best draft hands, right? Langford, Lindsay, hello. Like, they managed to hoodwink Essendon out of that. Like, tick, tick, tick. That's brilliant drafting. They did a great job to get back into this draft when they were out of it with the trades for Petrarca. Oh, but if you're telling me you're turning Petrarca into Latrell Pickett, like, really?
Yeah.
Like, that's alarming, isn't it? Like, you alarmed? I'm alarmed.
Well, I don't really know much about Latrell, to be honest with you. I know he's the cousin of Cozzy. But the Melbourne Demons picking team, they're the picking team, Jesse. They the list managers were pretty stoked to get Latrell. So is there something potentially that we're not seeing with him, or that you're not seeing with him? That's are you talking from a need basis? Well,
I mean, no. I mean, they do need that type of player in their lineup. But my main issue with this for Melbourne is when I think of list management, and I can absolutely say this as a small forward myself, the small forward position, unless you've got a guy like Nick Watson or Cozzy Pickett, so they must be really thinking this guy is Cozzy Pickett too. Like that's got to be what it is, right? But unless you get a guy like Watson or Cozzy Pickett high on the draft board that dominates their junior year and says, I'm going to be a small forward, like a guy that we're going to talk about in a few picks as well, by the way. Unless you're going to get one of those guys, you moneyball your small forwards. It's actually one thing that Fremantle have done very well in the last few seasons is getting guys like Lockie Schultz for nothing, Sam Switkowski for nothing. They got Travis Collier in to play that role for a bit for nothing. It's not the position you spend a top 15 pick on with the don't know element. Like, I think and as like I said before, if they were that desperate for him, I really think they could have slotted in somewhere with a trade. traded. I don't think they need to. I think they could have traded this pick 12 for pick 20 and still gotten him.
So it wouldn't have dropped to 30.
I mean,
we saw a lot of people dropping a long way that we weren't prepared to see drop that far.
Yeah, I mean, look, maybe. I think, but again, if we want to give Melbourne the benefit of the doubt and say that they're adamant that he is their guy, I think they could have got him with a trade down to 20.
Gotcha.
I don't think, looking at this, I don't think Essendon would have taken... Well, Essendon had the opportunity, didn't take him. I don't think they would have taken him over Sharp. Sydney, obviously, with the bid match, I don't think Giants would have particularly wanted him with their small forward structure at the moment. North is probably the only one that I would say maybe two. I don't think West Coast would have gone for that with Lindsay on the board. And I think, again, for North, I think Doverson's the better of the small forwards. I think they could have gone to at least pick 20.
There you go.
So I'm going to give this a D.
D for the Ds.
And it's salvaged by Taylor because I think he's a gun. I think it's a great get. I think this is and this is the thing. Two things can be true here, right?
Sure.
Pickett can turn out to be a good player, and this can still be poor drafting and list management. Two things can be true here. He can be a good player that they could have gotten for significantly cheaper, and or found a similar production type player for a lot less money in the open market. Two things can be true here.
Yeah. I mean, part of the draft is always going to be a little bit of a risk element, Jesse.
Oh, of course.
So we'll see how it goes. Fingers crossed. Let's move on, Jesse, though. We got to move on. Many teams to get through still. Next off the board is the Sydney Swans. Pick number 14, Harry Kyle. Number 35, Jevon Philippou. Number 42, Billy Cootie. And the guy who's going to mess up... Cootie?
Don't call me that. We're on air, Liam.
Sorry, mate. Sorry. Dirty though, gross cooties. And then number 49, that's so childish. My God, imagine that. He must get that all the time when he was a kid. He must have got it all the time.
He's getting it now.
Yeah, he's getting it right now.
As an AFL draftee.
And he's also
I'm so sorry.
Still a kid. And then number 49, the player that's going to make everyone shake their heads and throw their phones at the wall during Supercoach time. It is Max King. They're going to be like, oh, God damn it, I got the guy from the Saints. I wanted the young Swans upstart.
It's good from you. It's good from you.
Damn it.
You pitched the right audience for that. This is clearly a winning draft hand from Sydney for mine. I mean, Max King, we'll go reverse here. We've got up down the order. We'll go up the order here. Max King was touted as a potential top 10 pick for a lot of the time. He's got athletic traits to die for, but he has battled with the actual kickball in goal part at times as a forward.
It's important.
It is. The good thing is, though, Sydney are struggling with that kickball in goal part as well.
That's true.
So, and I don't think he's going to be any worse than a Marty.
Ooh, okay.
So we'll see with him. I think, you get a guy like him in to learn under Charlie Kerner for his first preseason, all of a sudden things can start to shift, right? Like, he can have the yips in his draft class season. If they're out of his system by March, no one is going to care. Kuti, I think that's admittedly not a pick I know too much about. Midfielder, mature age player. I do get a little bit funny about drafting mature age players in the national draft. I think, talk about draft list management strategy. It's not to say that I would never do it, but, I'm a big believer in, for guys like this, you go to your SSP slots, you go to your rookie draft, you go to your mid-season draft, you moneyball it, because especially with midfielders, like, they're a dime a dozen. There's 20 state league midfielders out there that could have this spot. Not to say that he won't be any good.
Yeah.
And there's always, look at Joe Newcomb. They absolutely can be found. But Joe Newcomb was found in the mid-season draft, right? At the end of the day, the accumulator state league midfielder archetype is one of the most easily replaced in the competition. It's up there with small forward as you are replaceable. See Will Brodie being traded for pick 103. It's just how it is. It's not a criticism of anyone. It's just how it is.
Mm-hmm.
I love the pickup of Jevon Philippou. I don't think his ego would have taken too kindly to being drafted pick 35, given he was telling us he was the best player in the draft class, or words to that effect.
Was he?
Yeah, he's pretty hard on himself, old Jevon.
Jevon, calm down, mate.
it's Bevan with a J. But in saying that, he was, I think, probably a top 25 prospect. I think I had him about 20 in my my order to Adelaide. I think I sent him to in my draft. I think that's a good get for the Swans. I think they'll be pretty pleased with that. And what I love about Harry Kyle is his leadership qualities. I love what they've done with him throughout potentially a very good player Obviously, a lot of change going on in that back six with Sydney incoming as guys like Rampy, Lloyd, Blakey aging out. This is potentially a guy that can lead that Swans back six for a very long time to come. Briefly touch on Lockie Carmichael, and we'll mention him more when we get to the Dogs, but I think that's potentially one that got away for the Swans. I'd be pretty disappointed to have lost him. Not to say that they've done badly by preferencing Carl over him, but I think they would have liked to have taken both in a world where they could have.
Fair enough. Kyle looks like a Kyle. Just calling him by his last name. That's what they're going to do on the show on the games anyway. Kyle, he looks like a football player. Like he just has that look about him where it's just like, yeah, no, he plays footy.
Yeah. So does Billy Coochie, to be fair.
That is very true. That is very true. A grade for the Swans, Jesse.
I'm gonna go with B plus.
B plus for the Swans. Let's shift across the other side of the bridge, shall we? The GWS Giants. They're coming up next. You thought they're. Let's go back to Cootie real quick. He was a mature age student. Check out this guy.
I think I've seen him before.
You might have seen him before. Number 15, Oscar Taylor. 51, Finnegan Davis. And then with pick 59 is Jake Stringer, young upstart Jake Stringer. I did have a chuckle to myself when I was doing these graphics, having these young, fresh-faced gentlemen coming out to play sport, and then old mate Jake Stringer just chucked in next to him. It was very funny.
Le Picage.
The Giants, Jesse.
Yeah, let's talk Taylor. The Giants have had issues defending for a couple of seasons now, especially when Sam Taylor's not out there now. Taylor's not going to be able to play that role because it's going to be confusing. There's two of them now. I just realised that.
What's that?
That there's two Taylors, and I can't just go, oh yeah, Taylor will do this, especially when they're both defenders. That's going to be
Xavier and Oscar? Or you mean at GWS?
At GWS, yeah. That's going to be a nightmare. Hopefully he's a bust. I'm joking. Well, I think Oscar Taylor's got some nice qualities. Off half back, I think he'll suit the Giants' play style and take on that run and gun approach. Potentially a guy that we could see early on in season 2026. But then again, what are the Giants going to be doing on field? Like they're one of the big unknowns, I feel like, going into next season.
Huge question mark.
Are they willing to give a guy like Taylor a run when they don't know? That's really all there is to say on this draft. I mean, they've gone a late pick for Finnegan Davis. That's fine. And they kept their promise to Jake Stringer. It would have been really funny if they didn't. Oops.
Oh, I forgot you, Jake. Sorry, mate. Sorry. Great, Jesse. That's all there is to say.
Yeah, C+. I don't think I did all that much, but it's a pass mark until proven otherwise.
Fair enough. Did more than others. All right, let's go to the next team, Jesse. It is the North Melbourne Kangaroos. Pick 16, pick up Lockie Doverston. 26, Blake Threadgold. And number 48, Hugo Mikunda. Jesse, Doverston, big get for them.
This is going to be so much fun. So we have the Hollywood Hawks.
Yep.
We have High Roller Richmond. I think we've got Nightlife North now.
Ooh, okay, all right.
We're getting somewhere with this North Melbourne side now. This feels like a missing piece. I'm so excited to see a forward line of Larky, Zerha, Paul Curtis. He's the guy you can't say just the last name. It's always Paul Curtis. It's never Curtis. He's Paul Curtis.
He's Paul Curtis, yeah.
And Doverston. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful. That's absolutely brilliant. This is going to be so much fun to watch next season. Doverston has every trait of a Crumming small you could ask for, and crucially, he's got a very good tool who has proven in some terrible teams that he's able to get teammates involved in the game by bringing that ball down to ground in the form of like you are being triple teamed. This is a great get by North. I can see why they traded into this draft, and you know what? They might have even done better with pick 26. I think Threadgold's a sneaky one too. That's probably gotten under the guard of a few. This is a great draft by North. This is an A-grade draft in my eyes. This is a side that is ready to take that next step, and I've done this before and gotten this wrong. Not necessarily specifically with North, with teams. I'm ready for North to take the next step next season. Now, I'm not saying wild card, but I don't think bottom four North is going to be a thing in 2026. And I honestly think we're going to see a guy like Lockie Doverston. He might end up being Murphy Reid-esque in that he kicks a goal a game, causes that many problems for defenders. He could win a Rising Star off that. Like, genuinely, there's that scope with a guy like Doveston because he reads the game in a way that reminds me a bit of Murph. Now, Murph is more of a natural midfielder who's transitioned into a forward out of necessity at Fremantle. Doveston is a pure forward, right? So as long as he can get off the chain at North and he's allowed to get involved in the system. But, I mean, like, how good has Clarkson been with small forwards? I mean, one of his greatest players was Cyril Rioli.
Yep, true.
Who, who was brought into the game by having very good tools in a Clarkson system. We're here again. Like Paul Curtis's rise last season, I think a big part of that is Clarkson's system. I think we're set for North. I think Doveston and Threadgold specifically are going to be big parts of this going forward. I like both these picks. I think these guys are going to be best 22 by 2027, and we may be seeing North really begin their rise up. They've got their midfield brigade sorted. They're happy with that. Now they're working on the bits they need. This is a great draft by North, an A grade from me.
I'm excited to see some of these younger teams, like North especially, Norths and your Richmonds. Like they're putting the pieces in there. I want to see them fucking kick ass. I want to see it happen.
Not ours, please. Not
ours. Never ours.
Take your hands off us at Hands Oval.
Oh yeah, we're playing them in Bunbury this year. That's right.
Remove your hands.
No, I think it's exciting, Jesse. No, it is exciting. I agree with you, but you never know, Jesse. 10. It's actually not that far away from bottom 4, so you never know. You never know. You're like
we did this, didn't we? In our ladder predictions, we hypothesized all of the scenarios.
All of them. All right, let's move on, Jesse. We've got the next team off the ranks, which is the Hawthorn Hawks, and eagle-eyed viewers will notice that I have stuffed up Cameron Nance pick. He was 20, not number 7, and it's too hard to go back and change it. He is pick 20. Aiden Schubert is 23. Jack Dalton at 34. And then Matthew Larray at pick 56. Some later drafts there, Jesse. 20 onwards. What do you reckon?
I'm intrigued by this.
Okay.
With Hawthorn. Because on one hand, Jack Gunston is getting old, although very productive last season.
Yes.
Marbia Chol has had 2 very good seasons, but there's potentially consistency concerns.
Yes.
I think Cal Shadir is their forward of the future.
Absolutely.
And they've gone with 2 forwards in their first 2 picks, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it is interesting. Okay. Schubert is probably more of your Chol type in terms of physical scope. Nan is more your Gunston type, playing off him. Both South Australians also like Gunston, funnily enough. I'm intrigued by this. And this is one where we're not going to be able to give a strong grade on for a while because Hawthorn haven't necessarily drafted for a need, but I'm also not immediately sure they've drafted best available. They have with Schubert. I'm not sure they necessarily have with Nan, which makes me think they really see something in him because the pick, I don't think, makes a lot of sense if you just look at it in a very binary way. So I'm interested with what Hawthorn have done here. And sometimes it's worth just letting these things unfold before diving in with a take and having an opinion. And,
sure.
And I don't want it to be, like I said before, when it comes to having opinions, I don't want to be a fence sitter all the time either. I save these ones where I don't know for ones where I genuinely want to see what happens before giving people something to put my name to. I think Nan's got a bit of creative ability about him as a bigger body, much like Gunston. So we'll see where that goes with him. Also, keep in mind Bruce as well,
yes.
With his retirement. So there's potentially a bit of that in it as well. Schubert's the one that really interests me, though, because, if you're Marbia Chol, does that pick worry you? I mean, Cal Shadir is clearly stepping forward and making leaps and bounds to being a very good forward in the brown and gold. So he's going to have a forward 6 spot. I'm starting to wonder if Sam Mitchell maybe sees that being Cal Shadir and Aiden Schubert, not Cal Shadir and Marbia Chol going forward.
I mean, like we've said it many times before, Jesse can only bring out the best in Marbia if he does believe that. He's going to have he can take Schubert under his wing and show him the ropes a little bit, but that might come back to haunt him. Out of the team, mate. Off you go. We've got Schubert here. We've got the Shubes. He's coming in to take your place. Competition, mate. It's important, as we know. And by the way, you keep getting further from the camera, I feel.
Sorry.
Come on in, mate. Don't be scared.
I needed to create some distance between me and the pick 7 for Nan that you've put on the screen.
I was so excited. I got everything correct, and it was only as I was coming up tonight, opening it up, I thought, oh, mistake. But that's okay. That's okay.
We call those Tom Sheridans on this show, especially when we're talking about Hawthorn.
Also, South Australia, man, what was in the water there this year? Basically, everyone's come from South Australia.
Yeah, a weak Victorian and Western Australian pool this year really put South Australia to fore, and they dominated national champs, which is going to make everyone look good.
Yeah.
My grade for Hawthorn, I'm going to go B- with the Hawks. They probably get. I've tried to make C+, I kind of don't know grade, but I've got to give them something for getting Schubert at 23. I think that's a pretty good pick. Now, whether they need him or not, I think we'll see. But I do like that in terms of value for where he was probably appraised. I think that's a pretty good get.
Very good, Jesse. We're moving into the later picks now with the Western Bulldogs at pick 21, taking Lachlan Carmichael, 27, Lewis or Louis to his mates Emmett, and number 60, Will Darcy. Jesse, your thoughts on the Western Bulldogs picks here?
I think they've done a pretty good job to get Lachlan Carmichael. They've drafted a defender. They desperately needed to do that. They've drafted a defender who can exit 50 quickly and also go one-on-one with his opponents. I think that's a good win for them. Unfortunately for the Dogs, though, no key defenders really available on the board for them with that pick 27. So they've drafted a ruckman, which is kind of pointless because they don't really have any. Unless they're going to make Emmett a key defender, that's an option.
Sure.
But certainly, face value, third banana to English and Darcy, the first Darcy, Sam Darcy, that being, playing third option to that doesn't really seem all that enticing to me. Potentially fourth option too, given they've managed to snag Will Darcy with the last possible pick in the draft, but he, has spent some time down back as well, so we'll see with that. Look, I think the Dogs, they've got the list that's pretty close, I think, as it is, just minus that defensive deficiency. In terms of grade for this, I'm going to go with B-. I think they did really well to get Carmichael because that's a good bit of talent identification that put the Swans to the sword with their academy points. Not sure about Emmett, though. Not to say that he's not a good player or won't be a good player. I'm just not sure if it's a good fit.
Fair enough. And you reckon this the second Darcy, Will, is going to be another prodigy like his brother?
I don't think he's going to be as good, certainly not based on where he's been picked up in father-son, but it's certainly worth the roll of the dice if you're the Dogs for pick 60 when the first time worked.
Yeah. No, fair shout too. Fair shout. All right, Jesse, let's move on to the next team. We're coming to the end. How many got left? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll say 6, but one of them, I can't wait to hear what you say about them, to be honest with you. Let's go to the next one. It's Adelaide Crows, pick number 22, Mitch Marsh, and we'll do the joke again. Not that one. And number 50, Archie Ludowicki.
Ludowicki. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah. I reckon it's a wiki, but that's okay, Jesse. What are your thoughts on the Adelaide's 2 picks here?
Well, I'm basing it off Charlie Wyke, who plays in the Championship. I think he's in League One now, and it's pronounced Charlie Wyke. So I'm going with that. If that's wrong, then please don't hurt me.
It's okay. I was about to go like an etymology of names kind of rant there, and I thought, no one cares. Jesse, keep going.
Thank you, Liam. You're finally starting to get what our audience appreciates. Make sure you subscribe. Mitch Marsh, they've gone for the local boy. Real upside with him. I don't know about Adelaide drafting 2 forwards. I mean, Tex needs to be replaced, right? So one of these 2 picks makes sense. That's probably Ludowicki, to be honest, given his size and stature. It'll be interesting to see how they go, because if Marsh makes the grade and is pretty good, as does Ludowicki, they're going to have 4 relatively tall forwards in that forward line. Now, they're already like a Godzilla with Fogarty, Thilthorpe, and Tex.
Mm-hmm.
Is this like a Megalodon?
Ooh.
If they get all 4?
Potentially. I mean, is a Megalodon like the evolution of the Cerberus, the 3-headed dog?
I think it's a shark.
In the water? That's it. It's a massive shark, yeah, correct.
Yeah, well, there you go. Look, I mean, Ludowicki's coming off a PCL injury, so I don't think we'll see him early doors next season, if at all, in terms of senior team footy. I think he'll be given time to develop, given he's missed a lot of his draft year. So that's why for pick 50, I mean, that's worth the risk. That's a 2-year contract. It's not going to be big coin. You already got a very good list. You're not drafting for a desperate, crushing, crippling need. I think this is pretty good. I'm going to give this a B+ from Adelaide. I quite like this.
Very good. Let's move on to the next team, Jesse. It's the Geelong Cats, picking up Harley Barker with pick 24, and then Hunter Holmes, number 33.
Barker will be an interesting one for me because he's just a runner on that wing, and he will just power up and down that wing for as long as he's needed to do. Potentially what Geelong need. They don't need much, but
no, they don't.
Maybe a bit of extra run and carry wouldn't hurt, especially with guys like Bailey Smith and Max Holmes that just get that ball forward at all costs. Having guys that can two-way run really hard on those wing positions might be good. I think he might play next year. This is a very good, I don't want to say needs-based pick for Geelong, because I don't think they necessarily need him, but they also don't really need anything. So It always becomes a needs-based pick by proxy. I'm going to go with a healthy B+ for the Cats here.
Well, we all know what it's like with Geelong, Jesse. They're not drafting. They're drafting for needs. We just don't know it yet. Or
yeah, that is true.
We don't see it.
That is
in
true.
like 2 or 3 years, we're like, geniuses.
I do think this is a pretty good pickup, though. For the pick they've got Barker, I think this is a good pickup. I'm glad they kept this instead of getting Rowan Marshall. I think they've won this.
Nice. Very good. All right, let's move on to the next team, which is the Freo Dockers. Our boys at pick number 25, Adam Swade, and at pick 40, Tobin Murray. Jesse, your thoughts on Freo's 2 picks here?
The biggest loser of draft night anywhere in the country was Isaiah Dudley.
Yeah.
This is it for him. I mean, like this is bye-bye. Have fun at Peel, mate. Like this is it not? Is this not a clear statement of intent from Fremantle that, hey, we don't think our small forwards are good enough?
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately so. And he's become he was a bit of he still is a bit of an icon at Freo in his year that he's had. And not terrible depth to have.
No.
By any stretch.
But you know my concerns with our bottom 4 players in our best 23. Dudley is a part of that. Like, he's good for a goal a game. He's got an uncanny ability to get a goal a game, like very few other small forwards I've
and he's a goaler.
seen.
He's a goaler. He goes hard, yeah.
But the missingness for 3.5 quarters of the game really holds him back. And his inability to influence when not hitting the scoreboard holds him back. Swade's a really interesting one for me. Because
you were surprised?
Not in my calculations at all, because I was pretty confident Essendon would be bid matching him. That had been, as I understood it, the talk for most of the way through. That didn't happen, and all of a sudden we've got a guy that is a pressure machine. This guy's 5 tackles a game, average. Not the best scoreboard influencer of the forward kind of pack, so more like your Sam Switkowski type.
Sure.
So we'll see with him. But I think this is a good game. And you know what? I've got to say, I know it's in a very media-trained environment. It's very easy to fall for like I'm really excited to come over and be part of it. But I love the way he answered his questions too. Like that's someone that is teachable. And it reminded me a lot of Murphy Reid as well, because although Murphy looked like he'd someone to run over his cat when he was drafted to Fremantle on draft night 12 months ago, he's clearly teachable and moldable. As a footballer, I'm getting the same vibes from Sweden. I think I said to you, Liam, I'm actually really warming to this. And I went from being like pleasantly surprised, like, I reckon we've done pretty well here as the draft went on. Look, that's where I'm going to stop celebrating. I can't lampoon Melbourne for using pick 12 on a mature age, smallish forward, and then not ask the same questions about why Fremantle do. Obviously, pick 12 to pick 40 is a biblical difference in terms of value, and we only need to look at the draft value index to support that.
Sure.
I question it, to be honest. I also question the logic of bidding on a West Coast next gen product in Tyler Williams. It just feels like unnecessarily starting things when we have good next gen kids coming in the next 2 years, and West Coast are probably going to be higher on the board than us. Clubs do have this thing called memory. It was like the Liam Baker thing. Why are we getting involved?
Yeah, 100%. Same
thing. It's very little brother punches at the knees of big brother, and I've got no problem meaning that Fremantle are that in the WA football ecosystem. It's not, but it's not our problem. It's not our thing to worry about. If we want to shake that little brother's tail, we just get on with the job without worrying about what West Coast are or aren't doing, and that includes bidding on players we don't necessarily need to bid on. Another small forward. We'll see. Anyway, back to Murray. Look, I'm going to give Fremantle a little bit of leniency here because I didn't really know what we needed coming in either. In terms of where's our list winners. I think small forward was the right call, certainly with Sweden in that regard. But looking at the picks around, I mean, I would have liked us to have a go at a guy like Ison. At least chuck a bid in. given that we've lost Brodie, we've lost Fife, so at the very least you're talking lower midfield depth, which we haven't replaced in this draft at all.
Yeah.
It's why I really wanted Fred Rodriguez. Honestly, I would have been very happy if he was picked 40. I know he went undrafted and picked one in the rookie draft. I wouldn't have blinked too much if we took him with pick 40. Or didn't use this and use one of our later picks. Like, trade out 40 for nothing. We had a pick, I think it was about 60, that we ended up passing on. Use that for Fred. Like, that's fine. And it's not just because he's a Freo fan. I think we potentially had a depth need there that is now unfilled. We may fill that still if we stop chasing 35-year-old ruckman or 34-year-old ruckman to be best 23.
Yeah.
When we have 2 ruckmen, and I know one of them's bad, but he's still going to play over my strenuous objections. But now there's going to be 2 ruckmen I don't really want playing in the same team, and the ruckman I do want playing is going to be playing, but he's probably going to be a midfielder, which I hate. I really hate it when they do that.
Jesse,
my grade is a B for Fremantle.
A B is a solid grade. A solid grade. We'll take a B, Jesse.
I thought Swede was a great bit of drafting. Murray, look, there's upside there. Clearly, we have had success in identifying younger. Let's say 19 to 22-year-old forwards in his bracket. I mean, Pat Voss is a great example. I know SSB, a great example of that. Isaiah Dudley, you can even throw in that bracket as well. Lockie Schultz, I think, was similar. So we have had success doing that before. I'm not saying this is the absolute worst thing to do, but you've then got to ask yourself, would Tobin Murray have gotten through to a rookie draft? I think it's definitely a possibility. It seemed like the fact they didn't have a photo of him on the draft board.
Yeah. Until now, after I've done the bloody graphics, crazy. But it says a lot, Jesse. It's one of the very few that didn't have a picture as well. Oh, well, that's okay. Well, let's move on, Jesse. Let's move on because we've still got a couple of teams to get through. Let's go to the next one, which is Collingwood, who had lots of late-round picks. Look at these guys go. 32, Tyne Prindable. 37, Samuel Swaddling. 55, Zach McCarthy. And 57, Angus Anderson, who looks like he just came off the beach. Jesse, what are your thoughts on Collingwood's picks here?
I love the pick of Swaddling. He was the real ball winner that I think a lot of people thought Fred Rodriguez was going to be for Western Australia. Love that pick. He could end up filling that Tom Mitchell void very well. We know that Collingwood can be quelled if Nick Dacos can be quieted. So having guys that can throw themselves around a bit, be a presence inside that midfield area, I think that's a good get for them. I don't know if he's going to play next season. Like, that's obviously a lot needs to play out. But in terms of intent from Collingwood, I think that's a really good pick. Printable, admittedly not a player I know too much about. Another midfielder like this one coming out of the Brisbane Lions Academy. Hopefully he can kick on too. Interesting to see what they do with this setup because they've gone with the 2 mids with their kind of 2 first picks. They must be pretty happy with their list, although they're going to have to start regenerating pretty soon, Liam, with the age profile. Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. Like they might be happy with their list now, but some of them are getting along. And we always say it seems to be the talk of the town the last 2 or 3 years is how old Collingwood is getting. I don't seem to really be changing any of that, to be honest with you.
Just business as usual.
BAU, mate, BAU. And still Collingwood, they'll still be great, I'm sure. Or maybe not, we'll see. Anything else to say about Collingwood, Jesse, or a grade in itself?
Just a grade. I'm gonna go B here. I think this is one where Collingwood, if this is 4 busts in a row, no one's gonna care in 2 years' time, unless like something like an act of God happens, like Jevon Phillippa, who was on the board when Printable Saker becomes like a star at Sydney, or you look at a guy like, who can even throw in here as an example, like Tobin Murray wins a Coleman. Like, you know, like unless things like that happen, this is a pretty safe draft from Collingwood.
Very good. All right, Jesse, the last team that we have to go over, that drafted players anyway, is St Kilda at number 41, Charlie Banfield, Kai Fincher, number 52, and then Orion Burns being redrafted at number 58.
I'm deeply distressed, Liam.
Oh dear. Why?
I'm deeply distressed.
Oh, you're rubbing your chin and everything. What's going on, Jesse? Are you okay?
I don't know how St Kilda are going to be able to go in. I don't know how the list manager can go into work the day after the draft and say, Andrew, I'm so sorry. We've drafted another club's father-son player and one of our own academy players. How could we join the system that we so arduously rebel against? Because we're big boys now. We're at the big boy table. Andrew, you keep telling us we're at the big boy table. We're gonna be bigger. We're gonna be strong. We're gonna be at our big boy table. But we've just done the thing that we hate, Andrew. What are we doing? Andrew, what are we doing? We've done the thing that we hate. And Tom DeConing has a late start to his pre-season as well. Oh, yep. It's all gone wrong at Moorabbin. They've drafted an academy player. The world has frozen over. The system that they hate has become the system they've become, Liam. Fincher, the St Kilda Academy product has gone to the States. You can tell us late in this recording because I'm really sticking the boot in for this one. I cannot be the only person that sees this dripping in irony that they have gone and drafted an academy kid when they have spent all season whinging, and this is true, about academy kids.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, what else is there to say, Jesse? Like literally the only team or the only owner of a team. What is this? The NFL? The manager of a team who's just like who's been going gung ho about this kind of stuff, and here they are, hypocrites.
Hey, maybe this is their way of saying we are at the big boy table now. We've got our own academy players. We haven't updated the website in 2 years, but we've got our own academy players.
Oh dear, Jesse. Well. That was very funny.
Okay, some actual analysis now.
Yes,
now I've done my 1 hour and 10 minutes into recording sillies. Look, I quite like Banfield as a player. He was very well liked by West Coast fans coming through his draft years. We'll see with him. Bigger midfielder. Hopefully he can crack the senior team because I think St Kilda, the midfield is probably still the one question mark with them in terms of their actual on-ballers outside of Wanganeen or Winhager. It falls off very fast after that. Mm-hmm. Will we see Fincher play as a midfielder in that? Maybe. Maybe. It would have been very funny if West Coast put him as pick 4 and made St Kilda bid match. I would have really enjoyed that. That would have been really funny. Or Gold Coast with the only non-academy pick they didn't have if they had done that. That would have been really funny. Alas, clearly my comedic talents are wasted on this podcast. I should be in the Gold Coast list management team. Clearly. Look, I think this is I know I'm poo-pooing the Saints a lot here, but it's all in good fun. I'm actually going to give a B+ with the draft grade here because they need midfield depth. They've gotten midfield depth. They've got it low on the board. They've gotten kids well regarded by 2 club setups that are owned in West Coast. I think that's a pretty good result on balance.
Very good. All right, Jesse. There's one more team to talk about. That team I haven't done a graphic for because they didn't do anything.
That's not true. I'm sure they sampled some of the Tim Tams.
That's true. Get out of the Barossa, having a couple of reds, maybe. Port Adelaide, Jesse. Nothing in the draft. Nothing in the rookie draft.
I think I have to give this an F, don't I? Because I'm already worried. I'm already worried about their list, and they've literally done nothing to improve it.
Quite literally nothing. I said nothing in the rookie draft. My apologies, Jesse. The one rookie we'll talk about is Jack Watkins from Port Adelaide sample. There we go. That's
okay. So they've elevated the guy from their samples. I mean, that is literally better than nothing.
That's true.
So well done, Jack. If you'd like to be interviewed on this podcast, you know where to find us. That is at @SamPerfect_AFL, Instagram, YouTube, and Apple, Amazon, and Spotify. Liam, that's it. We've done it. We've gone through all 18 clubs. My brain is fried having to do that. But if you've gotten all this way to this point, you now legally have to go and tell us in the comments what you think about your team's picks. What did you do well? What would you have preferred? Where would you have set Hibbins Hargraves? I still can't believe he wasn't drafted at all.
There's got to be something, Jesse. There's got to be something. There's got to be something going on. There's got to be something going on, surely.
Has to be.
Surely.
That's insane to me. I'm very bemused by that. But anyway, thank you everyone for tuning in. We're going to have some good content coming up over the following months as we get closer to the 2026 AFL season. So a like, a share, a subscribe, a review, always much appreciated. But the best type of review you can give us is word of mouth. So tell your friends, tell your family, draft in the people you know to go and give the Centimetre Perfect AFL podcast a subscribe and get listening as we head towards season 2026. Until next time, thank you for tuning in and we'll see you soon on the Centimetre Perfect AFL podcast.
Bye, everybody.